Sidney Powell coming up in a few moments. Now, you can get a lot of people on your show, and we had Joe Morrissey on earlier breaking this down, a few congressmen, but there's only one Sidney Powell, and she was very gracious. I sent her a text last night. I'm like, all the little emojis like please, angel, beg. Come on. Because you got to get her perspective on this. I mean, there's nobody that has better insight than Sidney Powell. She's coming up. She is the author of the book, License to Lie. You got to buy this book, but here's the best way to buy it. Just go to license2lie.com. I mean, forget Amazon and bookstores. And can't find it, and then they squirrel you away because they don't want you to read it because it's too volatile for them, and, you know, it's going to disrupt their whole swampy network. So just go to license2lie.com. License2lie.com, and the book is right there. Buy it today. Coming out in paperback also soon. License2lie.com. Joining us now, Sidney Powell. She was a former federal prosecutor. She was in the Justice Department. She knows this thing inside and out. Sidney, great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you, John. My pleasure. Love to be on your show. You have great listeners.
Did all those emojis I sent you late last night work?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they totally worked.
Well, I got John, didn't I? So obviously,
yeah, I'm here.
I know I sent you like 10. I went like emoji crazy last night, trying to make you laugh. Anyway, it's good to have you with us.
Cute.
So, Sidney, now that you're here with us, the great and one and only all-powerful Sidney Powell, license2lie.com. So this Cohen plea bargain thing, what is going on here?
Well, I was amazed he pled to 8 counts. I mean, that's just astonishing. They must have threatened him within an inch of his life, not to mention other members of his family, too, is what they usually do. And since apparently there were loans for other members of his family as well, I would bet that was high on the totem pole of their coercive tactics. So as I said to somebody else today, the fact that Cohen pled guilty to anything doesn't even mean that Cohen's guilty of anything. All you have to do is read Judge Jed Rakoff's article from a number of years ago called Why Innocent People Plead Guilty. Unfortunately, the powers of the prosecutors are so great and the cost of defending yourself both so expensive emotionally, financially, psychologically, and every other way you can think of, and the deck is stacked against you so highly. 97% of the cases in the federal system, I think, plead guilty. So it's just very hard to deal with and come up against the might and weight of the government. I've always felt like Mueller sent that case to Southern District of New York to broaden, not to narrow it, and I think that's proving true.
Okay, so they raid Michael Cohen's office. They go to his hotel. They go to his home. It's a coordinated effort. They find all this stuff about loans and taxi cab payments and money he made and didn't file it on his taxes. They find all this stuff. What does this have to do with President Trump?
It has absolutely nothing to do with President Trump. And Cohen, if he had not been a friend and counsel of President Trump, would never have been treated that way. I mean, can you imagine going in, somebody raiding Lanny Davis's office, which probably would have produced far more evidence than Michael Cohen's, since he's been a Hillary hack for years? Mm-hmm. I mean, the tactics these people have used against anybody related to this president in any way have been beyond the pale. And what has always concerned me is the two-tiered system that we have, both the politicization and weaponization of the Department of Justice, and then this whole double standard thing of if you're related to Hillary Clinton, you get immunity handed out like party favors, and if you're a friend of Donald Trump, you get raided and bodily searched in the middle of the night in your bed. It's absolutely appalling. Prosecutors have way too much power, and they abuse it.
Where are we going with this? Cohen makes a statement yesterday that basically said there was a federal candidate who knew about these payments. I mean, because the only thing even tying Trump to any of this is these payments to Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels. I had a lawyer from Richmond on at the 7:30 hour, Sidney, who said, let me be clear. He said that, and he's a Democrat. He said, let me be clear. There's nothing illegal about paying somebody, giving them money that they claim on their taxes as income in order to be silent about something to help your brand or your business or anything else. There's nothing illegal about that. So, okay,
no,
so
Cohen it's like settling a nuisance lawsuit. That's all it is. People do it all the time.
Right. So you turned CNN on last night, and you would think it was the end of the world for Trump. He's going to get impeached, and everybody's going to jail. You know, the whole family's going to jail. And you look at the evidence, and you say, okay, Manafort had that conviction, had nothing to do with Trump at all. Zero, right? That was even before he was with the campaign. So that's like a joke as far as Russian collusion or the Trump situation. Then you get to Cohen, and so Cohen paid somebody $130,000, and Trump gave him the money. Where's the illegality here?
There isn't one, aside from the fact that election finance laws are so complicated that there are entire sections of major law firms devoted to their multiple nuances, and they've long been a trap for the unwary, which is why lots of good people will not even run for office because of this very crap. They should have all been made civil things. Our tax laws, for the most part, should be punished by civil penalties and fines. Congress has over-criminalized the world, and innocent people are sitting in prison either because they felt compelled to plead guilty because they had no other opportunity, they just couldn't see a way out otherwise with, the risks were too great, or they didn't get a trial fair enough to tell if they were guilty. It's a criminal justice problem writ large, and we're just seeing it play out in the public arena now because of the people that they are targeting.
I mean, is there a message
here? We've been looking at this for at least 10, maybe 15 years. It's just gotten increasingly worse because nobody's done anything to stop it.
What you're suggesting is that the Justice Department is using the special counsel and prosecutorial powers, which, you know, the thing about the Mueller special counsel thing is there's no budget, it's unlimited resources in perpetuity, right? I mean, everything is open-ended.
It's like a private Department of Justice on steroids to target the president and anybody they want to target that's related to him. And there's nothing and nobody reining them in.
So let me ask you this. Why would anybody even go to work for the White House? Like, why would you put yourself through this?
Well, that's part of why they're doing it. They're trying to discourage any Republican or Trump supporter to stay away from all of it. They're trying to shut it all down. And between that and what we're seeing with the banks refusing to do business with certain people on their own now, and just the whole system turned upside down to target conservatives. Social media, you name it.
Harvard University the other day, I guess, put out a statement discouraging all academia, all other colleges to hire anybody that served in the Trump administration as a lecturer or a guest professor or a professor. And so,
oh my goodness, I hadn't even heard that.
It kind of went under the radar screen, but it stemmed from the fact that the University of Virginia in Charlottesville, UVA, very prestigious school. I'm in Virginia, obviously. Hope my son goes there. Hope I can afford it one day. And I hope he gets a baseball scholarship. Having said that, that's my dream. But they hired Mark Short, who served as President Trump's congressional liaison. And there was like outrage by professors on campus. Now, don't you think that somebody that served in the administration for 18 months and served through the tax cut plan and through repeal and replace and was the Capitol Hill public liaison for the president, ran that office, don't you think that would be interesting for students to learn his perspective? Instead, you got professors there that ran him off campus so he couldn't talk to students in a lecture format. I mean, what the hell is that about?
It sounds to me like they're trying to move us to a truly fascist state where they control absolutely every means of communication, education, law, everything. I mean, that is just absolutely appalling and terrifying at the same time, and totally contrary to the First Amendment.
You would think. It is unbelievable today that if you are a Trump supporter, the scrutiny and abuse that you're put under, I mean, I haven't seen anything like it. I mean, you know, I was on CNN the other day, and I've asked this question to a number of people. I'm going to ask you also. They asked me, I gave an answer, but I thought about it. I'm still thinking about it. They said, well, with the economy doing so great and people doing so much better, what is driving this intense hatred for this man? Like, so many people just hate him. Like they're with a blind, Trump derangement syndrome. Like, what is it? And what do you think that is? What is driving that, Sidney? Because I don't think either of us have ever seen this, ever.
No, we haven't. Well, I think a lot of it is fundamental misunderstanding and the massive amount of propaganda that the mainstream media promotes all the time against him. I mean, the guy hasn't gotten a break anywhere from any side. They have gone after him every manner and means imaginable.
Well, there was certainly no honeymoon.
Most of the people never hear anything positive about him, and if they believe what they hear on TV, he's the epitome of evil.
When he talks about fake news, that's what he means, that it's all so one-sided. You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network, trucking the truth across America, live in Washington, D.C. with Sidney Powell. Sidney is the author of one of the best books ever written on a Justice Department out of control called License to Lie. You can get her book. Go to license2lie.com. She was also a former federal prosecutor. She's a very well-known lawyer, license2lie.com. So, Sidney Powell, what happens now in the Cohen case? I mean, how does that affect the president? Is he under any risk here? What happens now?
Well, they're going to proceed to see what information Cohen is willing to produce for them. As Alan Dershowitz says, either, compose or sing. I imagine Mr. Cohen will be doing some composing. He seems to be that type. And, of course, he's got Lanny Davis out there already tweeting things, trying to incriminate the president through his Twitter feed, which is beyond appalling for more reasons than one. He's supposed to be the lawyer for Michael Cohen. He's acting like he is still a lawyer for Hillary Clinton. So, is he part of the plant and the scheme to take down the president, too? I don't know how far it goes, but it wouldn't surprise me if he wasn't in on some of the earlier machinations that went on to create this whole Russia collusion narrative. So, I don't know where that's going, but it's certainly highly suspect.
Sidney, how does the president survive this?
He just keeps being president and doing what he's doing. They can't indict him. They're not going to have anything to impeach him on. There's a huge debate as to whether there are any election law things violated by Mr. Cohen to begin with, and certainly not by the president. So, he just needs to keep being president and ignore this as much as he possibly can. He's doing what he should be doing by taking care of America and Americans. And we've got to make sure that we get the vote out in November. This literally will be the most important midterm election in the history of the country.
Sidney, I want you to say that again.
This will be the most important midterm election in the history of the United States.
Why?
We are literally fighting for the soul of this country. Are we going to fight for freedom now, or are we going to let the powers that be, the elite powers that are so disrupted by this president, back into office and to take over? Because they will shut it down and they will do everything they can to destroy what freedoms we have left, whether it's in social media or on college campuses or even in our own homes. I mean, it's just that serious.
So do you believe there's some of us, Steve Bannon, I had Patrick Cadell on yesterday, Democratic pollster, a couple other people, they have really been saying that the only way the Republicans win now is they have to nationalize this election and make it The Republicans have to make it about impeachment in order for them to win. Because if it's done on like a hand-to-hand combat, district by district, potholes, they're going to lose the House. So the thinking is that Trump is going to nationalize the election and say just what you've said. You want freedom, or do you want the elites telling you what to do? That's basically what November 6th is about. Do you agree with that?
Right. Well, I'm not politically savvy in any way, shape, or form. I just try to speak the truth at all times, and I can tell from what I'm seeing and hearing and working on and know about that this is absolutely crucial. And we have never experienced anything like this that I can know from history or otherwise. We're at a crossroads. I thought the crossroads was ended in the last election, the presidential election, but obviously it isn't. No one ever envisioned a president being besieged like this. At least our side certainly didn't. And we've got to defend that and our liberty, or we won't have it anymore. We won't even have a country anymore if they're back in power, because we're looking at open borders and MS-13, and people like Molly Tibbetts are going to be happening every day instead of once in a while. I mean, it's already outrageous.
Well,
I feel so badly for her family. I can't see straight.
That was a horrible thing. The whole Molly Tibbetts thing is just sickening to anybody, because it could happen to any of us, any of our children, right? It could just happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so that's
and human
that's
trafficking
really
is
the
still the fastest growing crime in the country.
Exactly. All right, so look, you've said the president can't be indicted. The Manafort thing's over. I mean, I don't think they're going to go after these there was a hung jury on 10 of the points. I mean, they got enough on him now. He's going to go to prison. So I don't think the prosecutors...
I mean, it could be reversed. I don't know the trial well enough to know the facts and how the law applies to these particular facts, but I certainly wouldn't deem it over, because the judge could render a judgment of acquittal on some of the counts or all of the counts. The Court of Appeals could wind up reversing it. I mean, you got to remember, anything Andrew Weissman touched in the past was reversed in whole or in part on appeal. Arthur Anderson was reversed 9-0. The Merrill Lynch case, 12 out of 14 counts against all the defendants were reversed. Guilty pleas even had to be withdrawn because Mr. Weissman had bludgeoned people into pleading guilty to things that weren't even crimes. So it's not necessarily over.
But there's no tie to the president here. And then you get to the Cohen thing, and it's a very spacious dotted line. They're never going to get anything there. You can't indict the president, as you stated, so he's not going to be indicted. So the whole thing comes down to, when is Robert Mueller going to finish his investigation? The Mueller report, that goes to Congress. When will that come out? What's in it? But at the end of the day, I mean, I sensed panic amongst many of my colleagues yesterday, and I came on the air every day to tell everybody, take a breath and calm down. Nothing has changed here. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right. There's absolutely nothing to panic about here at all.
Nothing to panic about. Nothing has changed. The bottom line is you can take action. And the action is you can get up off your duff, and you can tell every friend you have and every family member that, as Sidney Powell said, this is the most critical midterm ever. Go out and vote for the Republican, even if you don't agree with them. Like, there's a bunch of Republicans that drive me nuts. I'm voting for them anyway, all right? We got to stop this nonsense that's going on. John Fredericks Radio Network, out of time. Sidney Powell, thanks for being with us. Buy your book. Buy it today. Got to get it. LicenseToLie.com.
The paperback's just out. It just came out yesterday, so it's available on the website, LicenseToLie.com.
How much is a paperback?
$20.
Buy it. Best $20 you'll ever spend in your whole life ever. Better than a $20 scratch-off ticket in Washington, D.C. Certainly better than a beer at the Washington Nationals game, because they're going to play golf anyway in October, so who cares?